In a world that constantly tells us to stay connected, be social, and never sit alone, what if I told you that being alone might actually be the key to true peace? The Buddha once said, "He who sits alone, walks alone, lies down alone, and tames himself alone, finds joy in the forest." Sounds deep, right? But what did he mean? You see, today we often think being alone means something's wrong. No friends, no love, no fun. But for thousands of years, Buddhist teachings have told a different story. A story where solitude isn't loneliness, it's strength. Where silence isn't empty, it's full of answers. In this video, let's explore why learning to be alone might be the most powerful skill you ever develop, and how it helped the Buddha find the peace that the world couldn't offer. So, why is solitude praised in Buddhism and in nearly every spiritual path across history? Think about it. Almost all the great spiritual teachers, whether it's the Buddha and monks, had one thing in common. They all walked away from the noise, away from the crowd, away from comfort, into the wilderness, the forest, the desert, into stillness. And why? Because clarity is rarely found in chaos. True transformation needs quiet. Before the Buddha became the Buddha, he was a prince living large in a palace full of pleasure, luxury, and distraction. But deep down, something felt missing. That something couldn't be filled with gold, music, or even the laughter of people around him. So he did something radical. He left it all, not to escape the world, but to understand it, and more importantly, to understand himself. And here's the wisdom bomb. He didn't find answers in a crowd. He found them in solitude. That's why spiritual leaders retreat into silence. Because only when we're truly alone, without anyone to impress or follow, do we finally meet the most important person in our life, ourselves. So after leaving the palace, the Buddha, known then as Prince Siddhartha, didn't just chill in a forest and vibe. Nope. He went hardcore. He joined 5 monks who believed that enlightenment only comes through self-torture. We're talking extreme fasting, harsh meditations, denying the body every comfort. Imagine this. Siddhartha pushed his body to the absolute limit, eating almost nothing, meditating through pain, nearly dying from weakness. All to find some kind of awakening. But after 6 years of this intense suffering, he had a realization. This isn't it either. Denying the body completely was just as unhelpful as overindulging it back in the palace. So what did he do? He did what most people fear the most. He chose balance. He stepped away from both extremes. He took food again. He began caring for his body as a vessel, not an enemy. And the 5 monks, they were like, "Wait, what? He's eating? Oh no, he gave up, he failed." They left him, completely disappointed. But here's the plot twist. That was exactly what the Buddha needed. Because now he was truly alone. No palace, no monks, no distractions, just him and the truth. And not long after, sitting under the Bodhi tree in complete solitude, with a balanced mind and body, he became awakened. Enlightenment wasn't in the palace. It wasn't in pain. It was in the middle path. Here's the real talk. Being alone doesn't always feel good. For many people, it feels like punishment. It feels empty, dark, even scary. And you know what? That's valid. Because loneliness and solitude might look the same on the outside, but they're not. Loneliness is when you're alone and you feel like you're missing something. Solitude is when you're alone and you feel complete. The Buddha understood this difference. He knew that solitude could either destroy you or liberate you. It all depends on what's happening inside your mind. A lot of people say, "I live alone, but I feel miserable. My thoughts are too loud. My emotions take over." And honestly, that happens when you're not trained to sit with yourself. No phone, no noise, just your own thoughts. For many, that's scarier than any horror movie. But here's the thing. Your mind is like a room. If it's messy, being stuck in there feels awful. But if you clean it, organize it, light a candle in the corner, boom, it becomes your favorite place. That's what solitude gives you, a chance to clean the room of your mind. If you run from being alone, you're running from yourself. But if you embrace solitude, you're walking toward your true power. So let's say you're sitting alone, no distractions, just you and your thoughts. And boom, here comes the spiral. Why am I like this? I feel empty. I feel lost. That's the negative energy creeping in. And trust me, it's not just in your head, it's real. You can feel it in your chest, your gut, your whole vibe. But here's a powerful truth straight from both Buddhism and basic science. Energy cannot be destroyed, only transformed. So when you're hit with negative thoughts, the goal isn't to fight them or bury them. The goal is to redirect that energy. Turn it into fuel. The Buddha didn't destroy suffering. He transformed it. His pain from leaving the palace, the disappointment. From the monks, the discomfort of solitude, he used all of that as stepping stones to enlightenment. So how do you do it? Start by giving your mind a mission. Because without purpose, your thoughts just wander around and party with your fears. But when you have a goal, a dream, a spiritual practice, suddenly your thoughts get structure. Your solitude turns into a workshop for your soul. Your sadness becomes reflection. Your silence becomes clarity. And your loneliness, it becomes the birthplace of your inner power. Okay, real question. Have you ever felt lost and lonely? Not because you're physically alone, but because you have no idea what you're doing with your life. Yeah. The Buddha, realized this early on. When the mind has no direction, it becomes its own worst enemy. But when you give it purpose, boom, it becomes your most powerful tool. One of the biggest reasons people suffer in solitude is because they're missing a why. No aim, no mission, no inner compass. That's where spiritual goals come in. Not just get rich, get famous, or get married. Those are fine, but they come and go. I'm talking about the inner stuff that, what kind of person do you want to become? What values do you want to grow? What weaknesses do you want to overcome? When you ask yourself these questions daily, you give your soul work to do. And suddenly that empty time, that silence, it becomes a lab for transformation. Because here's the thing. Life will isolate you at some point. People leave. Plans change. The noise dies down. And when you're finally alone, what will you have left? If you've built inner peace, purpose, and self-knowledge, you'll have everything you need. But if you haven't, loneliness will hit harder than any breakup. So, start now. Define your why. Build your inner foundation before the storm comes. So what have we learned? Being alone isn't a punishment, it's an opportunity. The Buddha didn't become enlightened in a palace or surrounded by applause. He found truth in stillness, in silence, in solitude. Loneliness becomes suffering when you resist it, but solitude becomes liberation when you embrace it with purpose. You don't need to run away to a forest or fast for 6 years to find peace. You just need to give yourself space. Every day, even just 15 minutes of silence, no phone, no people, no distractions. Just you and the voice within. Ask yourself, who am I becoming? What's truly important? What can I build within me so that, even in the silence, I feel whole? If you can sit with yourself and not feel lost, you're already walking the path of wisdom. Solitude isn't the end of connection. It's where true connection begins.